mobility of the sacral region. So as we discussed earlier, if we take one sacrum, superiorly lumbar spine will be there. Here side will be having connection to the hip bones, and here if we see, here will be having pubic symphysis. Pubic symphysis will be there. Here sides will be having hip joint. Here sides will be having hip joint. So the mobility of the sacral region, it's like a little like closed chain. It's like a closed chain movement. Closed chain movement means if sacrum moves means automatically pubic symphysis will move, because if sacrum moves, it is connected to the hip bone. Here hip bone connected to pubic symphysis. If sacrum moves, pubic symphysis will move, and at the same time hip joint also will move. Hip joint also will move. So according in relation to all this, here lumbar spine also will move. Lumbar spine also will move. So same like suppose here mobility we have only nutation movement and counter nutation movement. Counter nutation movement. Nutation movement means if you take sacrum like this anterior posterior. So superior triangle of the mean. Here base of the sacrum will move forward and inferiorly, and here the end of the sacrum will move upward. So this is nutation. Counter nutation. Counter nutation means if we take again sacrum is anterior posterior, here base of the sacrum will move posterior and downward. Posterior and downward or inferiorly, and here the end of the sacrum it will move upward. So this is the counter nutation movement. So whenever the sacrum is moving, automatically pubic symphysis will move. Pubic symphysis will move. Suppose why? Because if you take sacrum like this, so here suppose this is our sacrum, here will be having pubic symphysis. This is imagine this is our hip joint, hip bone. This is one more hip bone. So this is our sacrum. Here will be having hip bone. This is pubic symphysis. If sacrum is doing nutation, that time automatically pubic symphysis will go up. If sacrum is doing nutation like this, automatically pubic symphysis will move like this. Suppose if sacrum is doing counter nutation, pubic symphysis will move in this direction. Pubic symphysis move in this direction. If the pubic symphysis is moving, what it means, between this SI joint and pubic symphysis joint, between will be having hip joint. Between these two will be having hip joint. So if this complete circle is moving, if this is moving SI joint, and here pubic symphysis moving, automatically the joint which is presented here, hip joint, automatically this hip joint will move. So that's why it is a closed chain movements. Are closed chain movements mostly. It is a closed link with the lumbar spine, SI joint, pubic symphysis, and hip joint. And one more point, during pregnancy, one hormone, that hormone name is relaxin. One hormone, that hormone name is relaxin. It is going to released by the corpus luteum. It is going to released by the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum. So what is the action of this relaxin hormone? When the person is in pregnancy women, this relaxin is going to loosen the structures of the SI joint, at the same time pubic symphysis joint. This hormone is going to loosen the SI joint structures and pubic symphysis joint structures. So because of this loosen, because of the structures are loosened, how loosen means ligaments will become loose. At the same time articular cartilages will become loose, and collagen will become loose. So because of all these variations, changes inside the SI joint and pubic symphysis joint, here the mobility will be more in the SI joint and pubic symphysis joint during pregnancy, because of the relaxin hormone. If the mobility is more means when the baby is delivering, the more ROM will happen at the SI joint and pubic symphysis joint. These are going to allow these movements, more ROMs are going to allow the baby to come out easily. So this about the mobility of the sacral region. And one more special point, that special point here, we know that lumbar spine and SI joints and hip joints and pubic symphysis joint, all these structures are the closed chain structures. Okay, all these structures are closely linked to each other. So that because of that, when we are shifting weight of body to one leg, So what it means, suppose one person is here, this is lumbar spine. So here this person is having, see here, this SI joint, okay, he is standing here. So now he is in bilateral stance. So see, these two limbs are contact with the ground. So the weight on this limb is equals to this limb. So weight on both limbs is equal. Suppose sometimes he may shift full body weight to one side, sometimes he may shift full body weight to one other side. So suppose right and left. So suppose if the same person is shifting full weight to right side, what will happen? That time SI joint movement will happen. The movements will happen at the SI joint. So here see pubic symphysis. If we see gait cycle, in this we can see one thing, single leg support. So if the person is in single limb support walking, when patient is walking, when the limb is with, if the person is walking, when the limb is in single limb support, that time see here pubic symphysis. So this pubic symphysis, this is our sacrum, this is SI joint, So when the person is in single limb support, that time the movement will happen at the pubic symphysis. So because of this movement, patient can do this single limb support very easily. Which movement means these are the shear forces. Because of the shear forces, means if you take one object, here one more object, one force will come like this, so that this object will go in this direction, this object will go in this direction. So shear force. So because of this single limb support walking, in that time when single limb stands or single limb walking, so that time here shear forces will happen at the pubic symphysis joint, so that here movements may happen. And one more point, if we take pubic symphysis, if the patient is in neutral position or maybe walking, if the patient is in neutral position or maybe walking, see, when the patient is in neutral position, there is no force acting on the pubic symphysis. Okay, there will be no movement in the pubic symphysis. If the person is walking, then only shear forces will act on the pubic symphysis, so that as a result movement will happen at the pubic symphysis joint. Okay, now we'll see one last special point. So here the hip joint is attached to the, see here, sacrum. Hip joint is attached to the sacrum. Here it will be there, hip joint. So hip joint will be linked to the both sacrum and pubic symphysis in non-weight bearing position, and weight bearing position. Weight bearing position, non-weight bearing position and weight bearing position. So here, if we take supine lying, so imagine here the patient is in supine lying. This is the patient gluteal region. This is the patient hip joint. Okay, this is the patient hip joint. Imagine here will be having sacrum. Here will be having sacrum. So these are L5 vertebra, L4, L3, L2, L1. So these are thoracic and cervical vertebra. Okay. So here we will be having pubic symphysis. Okay. So what is the point here? Means if hip joint, we are saying about hip joint in supine lying, if patient do hip joint flexion, this hip joint flexion is going to create the nutation movement on the sacrum. Because of the nutation movement here, pelvic outlet will increase because of this increase in the pelvic rate. So here patient has to do flexion. If you do hip joint flexion in the supine lying, then it is going to create the nutation movement in the sacrum bone. Because of that nutation movement, pelvic outlet will increase. The increased pelvic outlet is going to create more space in the pelvic outlet. So it is going to helpful for the delivery. So when the baby is delivering, the increased outlet, it is going to helpful for the freely, baby can come out freely. So because of that, so our delivery position will be in hip joint flexion position. Hip joint, if whenever we see the delivery position, the patient the patient should be in hip joint flexion. They will keep like this is like delivery position. Both hip joints will be like flexion position. So this is the delivery position. So see here, both the hip joints will be in flexion position. So here pelvic outlet will increase. Because of the nutation movement, at the same time hip flexion. Because of these two movements, here pelvic outlet will increase. So baby can come out very easily. So this is about the hip joint when it is doing flexion. What if hip joint is doing extension? Means suppose if the hip joint is doing extension in same supine lying position, if it is doing extension, hip joint extension is going to create the counter nutation movement at the sacrum, which is opposite to the nutation movement. Counter nutation will happen at the sacrum. Because of that pelvic brim will increase. So because of that, so the baby will come into the pelvis. Suppose imagine this is uterus. Okay, just for imagination. Okay, this is our pelvis. Imagine sacrum here. So this is our pelvis, sacrum, pelvis. Okay, this is pubic symphysis. Okay, so because of this hip joint extension, counter nutation will happen at the sacrum. Because of that, the pelvic brim will increase. The pelvic brim will increase. Because of that increased pelvic brim, the baby can come into the pelvis. Simply we can tell like it is going to helpful for the descent of the fetal head into pelvis. So this is what happened. So before delivery, if we do first hip extension movement, it is going to create the counter nutation in the sacrum. Because of that, pelvic brim diameter will increase. Because of that, the head of the baby descent will come down into the pelvic outlet. So after this extension, if we keep the patient in hip joint flexion position, then it is going to create the nutation in the sacrum. After that, it will increase the pelvic outlet diameter more, so that baby can come out easily. So first hip joint extension followed by hip joint flexion for the delivery purposes. Clear?